All right, Harmony Science Academy, Algebra 2. We're going to be looking at factoring polynomials. This is it, last lesson for CBA 9, but more than half or more is on this material for CBA 9, okay? So we have to be careful and, of course, dedicate some time here, okay? So let's kind of get an idea, a vocabulary of the concept, okay? So we've already dealt with stuff like this, so that's cool, okay? So imagine we have this equation, okay? If I asked you guys to solve, okay, most of you guys would subtract 72, right? Bring it to this side. Whoops. Right? So we factored before, okay? Now we can go faster. You guys can take your little shortcuts. That's fine now, okay? Unless, we used to do the quadratic formula and stuff, but now we're going to trust you guys, okay? So we have a polynomial, okay? So that's why we can factor polynomials and it looks like before. So that's a good thing. So if we continue to factor this, okay, we would take out a 2. And a lot of you guys know how to factor that, okay? Again, if you need to review and go slow, that's fine. But we would have this. Okay? I'm going to put the 0 over here. Just, you'll see why in a little bit, okay? Excuse me. So, we've been here before, okay? So, we've already got a great start to this. Now, what needs to be said, okay? How do we actually get the solution? So, we would take these guys, set it equal to 0. And here we would subtract 6 both sides. Here we would add 6 both sides. Okay, so we would have our solutions. Alright, so let me take a look here. Alright, so let's go and attach the vocabulary, right? So here we have a polynomial, right? This should look like a polynomial to us already. Factored form, if they ask you for factored form, okay, you've got this. These guys here are your factors. What else do we have? And after you do this little process down here, you have your solution, your roots, and your zeros. Okay. So all these words basically mean the same thing. Okay. If they want solutions, here they go. If they want roots, here they go. If they want zeros, here they go. Okay. And if it involves a graph, no big deal. Okay, let's just say it was something like this. -6 would be one of the solutions, one of the roots, one of the zeros, and 6 would be the other one. A solution or a root or a zero is all the same thing. Okay? Alright, so the only one missing is multiplicity. Right? So all this means is like multiples, right? It repeats. Okay, so maybe I can write the word here, repeats. Okay? So right now, okay, I'm doing it in red because we're done. But to understand multiplicity, imagine that this wasn't a 2, let's say it was an n. Okay? And this was some other number. Okay? So anyways, imagine that we had, if I factored this problem, I had x plus 6, another one, and another one. Okay? So this factored form, okay, in this made-up situation, to understand multiplicity, we would now have the 2. I have 1, 2, 3 of the same ones. Okay. So I would put a cube, and I only have one of these guys. Okay. So to understand multiplicity, I guess we'll stick with red, is this guy, his multiplicity for this factor is 3, and his multiplicity is just 1. Okay, there's only 1 there. Okay, hopefully that helps. It's not the most difficult thing to spend time on, but if you keep it simple with your notes, you'll be fine. Okay, all right. Anyways, you definitely want to jot this in your notes. Okay, so we'll give you time for that. And we have 3 scenarios we're going to look at with factoring. The first one is super familiar, super easy, so let's go and take a look at and prove it. Okay. Now notice that by looking at these 3 terms, I see all of them have at least one x. So I'm going to factor out an x, which leaves me x squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay. Now that I've done that, the stuff on the inside is basic factoring stuff. You guys can do your own methods as long as it's accurate. Okay. So here, 2 numbers that multiply to give me him, that add to give me him. So that's 3 and 4. All right. So that's it. We're done. Okay. It's really that easy. At least these are. Okay. Now the other thing I do want to say at this time is for the CBA, they might actually give you a graph, which means you can come up with the zeros. Okay. Which means you can put them in this form, right? If they give them to you listed like this, you can put them in this form. And you might even be able to put them in this form. Okay. And go backwards. So keep that in mind. That there's a lot of valuable information happening here. But we'll talk further when we're in class, okay? All right. So you'll be asked in one case to group specifically, but in general, this is a factoring method you guys have seen and you should be very comfortable with, okay? So you'll notice it because here we have 4 terms. So you look at the first 2 and you pull out the greatest common factor, okay? He has 3, he has 2 x's, so both of them have 2, okay? X squared. I'm left with an x minus 5. Okay. Now I come to this guy. They both have a 5. This guy's got the negative. Okay, so I'm gonna take out a negative 5. Pay attention. So this negative 5, if I pull it out, it leaves an x. This is a plus 25. So if I divide by negative 25, I'm left with y, because negative and negative will give me a positive again. Okay. Now you guys will notice that this guy and this guy match. So what I can say is this guy and this guy can now be distributed to this guy, meaning if I bring him to this, I will get this. If I multiply negative 5 times this, okay, let me go back here, and I need to say x squared, right, multiply times all this gives me this, negative 5 multiplied times this gives me that. Okay. So there it is. Okay, I think pretty simple. You'll get practice on that. And lastly, okay, this one's a little more advanced, but like you guys have your notes, we're going to use a formula. Okay, you'll know these because these are special. Okay, they just look different, But here's the one thing you want to observe is that if you study this, you'll see that this is something cubed minus something cubed. So it looks like this: x cubed minus 5 cubed. Okay, if you don't see it, that's why we're going to practice in class. Okay, so what that's going to do, it's going to say, hey, you know what? We have a sum or difference of cubes. What does that mean? In my case, I have 2 cubes that are being subtracted, so that's a difference. If we were adding them, it would be the sum in this scenario. Okay. The cool thing, all you guys care about is there's a formula to follow. Okay. It's been a while since we used the formula, so since we're using this one right here, okay, I have an a cubed minus b cubed, so I'm gonna call this a, and I'm gonna call this b. Okay. So now I'm gonna have this formula where I just plug in and I'm done. Okay. So check this out. I'm going to have a minus b, okay, a squared plus, I need to multiply a times b, and then have b squared. Okay. So let's go ahead and plug that in. What is ax? Okay. Minus b. What is b? 5. And over here I need a once again, which is x, and a times b, okay, a times b, which is, be careful, it's 5 times x, and lastly I need b, which is right there. Okay, and I guess just to finish the formalities, we'll clean it up here and get us x squared plus 5x plus 25, and we are done factoring this. Alright, the rest of the time we'll spend in class practicing. Catch you in class.